You're listening to the WrestleHavoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes right here on episode 27 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. Of course, it's the show where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, a week has passed since the official termination and firing of one CM Punk, and Twitter has been going absolutely ballistic in the freaking speculation regarding CM Punk. It is absolutely insane. And I remember tweeting out, can literally people relax? Like, everybody chill the fuck out. We do not even know if CM Punk wants to even still wrestle. But nonetheless, there has been a lot of speculation and a lot of news coming off of the firing of CM Punk, of course, this past Saturday. I believe it was the day before AEW All Out. And a lot of people are saying he could possibly return to the WWE. A part of me thinks that way. A part of me doesn't think that way. Some people are saying Impact Wrestling. Some people are even saying New Japan, which would be very shocking considering the fact that New Japan is an official partner of AEW. So we're going to be talking about all this and much more. This whole show, episode 27, is primarily going to be about CM Punk, but I got other news right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast. We're going to be talking about LA Knight and his contract situation, and we're also going to be talking about Prince Nana because I believe he recently signed an extension with All Elite Wrestling. But really, the majority of this show, we are going to be talking about CM Punk. Before I get on with all this craziness regarding episode 27 of the WrestleHavoc podcast, please make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the friggin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, if you guys had missed it, the AEW Collision review is up on the channel. I talk about Bryan Danielson challenging Zack Sabre Jr. at WrestleDream October 1st in Seattle, which is a match that we've been clamoring for a while now. Of course, if you guys do not remember, the Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson match was supposed to happen at last year's Forbidden Door, but we ended up not getting it. But now we are finally getting it at WrestleDream. We also had the continuation, and we had a series of semifinal matches for the Grand Slam tournament, in which we will now officially see this Wednesday on Dynamite, Samoa Joe take on Roderick Strong. So we're going to be talking about all that and much more on the Collision review, guys. If you guys haven't checked out the AEW Collision review, the link will be in the description below. Also, if you guys had missed the SmackDown review, I talk about just when he wanted to be out, Jimmy Uso wants back in. Literally. First, he's out of the Bloodline, then he wants back in. Literally, what is it? Honestly, really, this was basically the entire SmackDown show, to say the least. It wasn't a bad show, but really, the entire moral of the story of SmackDown was really Jimmy Uso. And when it comes to Jimmy Uso and him getting out of the Bloodline and then wanting back in a sense, it kind of doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to be giving it a chance. So I talk about all that and much more right here on the SmackDown review. Also, if you guys would like, follow me on social media. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, I am on TikTok. I said TikTok. Tic Tacs, guys. Wow, I'm in the mood for Tic Tacs. But I'm on TikTok as well, of course, on Instagram, FlamingRick_0305, on X, FlamingRick0305, and, of course, on TikTok, Ricky DeReyes. If you guys haven't checked out all the content that is on there, check it out. And, of course, subscribe right here on the YouTube channel for more content right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast, of course, as I've stated earlier, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. All right, let's move on and talk about all this CM Punk news because, again, social media has been absolutely insane about the future of CM Punk's wrestling career and what potentially is the next stop or the next step for CM Punk. First off, we're going to be talking about backstage news on AEW's locker room and the morale in the locker room after CM Punk's departure. And by no surprise, it felt like a weight has lifted off of their shoulders. I'm reading this from WrestlingNews.co's website. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that the locker room morale has improved in AEW. Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "Many others talked about the backstage atmosphere as if a dark cloud has been lifted over their heads and how much fun it was on the weekend shows." Very, very interesting developments right there from the locker room. By all accounts, I'm not really surprised. I mean, think about this. Before CM Punk came in, literally everybody was talking about how AEW was this happy place that was going on. Everybody was friends with one another, blah, blah, blah. And it was pretty much relatively true if you think about it. Before CM Punk came into the company, everything was really going great. If you think about it, one of the main reasons as to why CM Punk went into AEW to begin with, because it was basically because of the fact that he liked the locker room and he liked what they were doing. And not only that, one of the biggest components as to why he came into the company was the way he basically, which the AEW treated, the passing of Brody Lee and the tribute show that they did. Those were one of the components as to why he came into the company. But meanwhile, fast forward to May of last year with all the Hangman Page drama and all that stuff. And then, of course, Brawl out happened. Literally, the locker room has been in absolute shambles. And if you really think about it, AEW, when it comes to the locker room morale, it feels like a fucking war zone. I remember talking about this last year during all the Brawl out stuff while it was all going down. I talked about how almost every week there would literally be a story about a backstage fight that would happen in AEW. We'd get stories of stuff happening in the women's division. We recently had the Lufisto story drop a couple of months ago, which was very shocking to say the least. But we had stories like Eddie Kingston getting secretly suspended because he pie-faced Sammy Guevara over a promo that he did on a Rampage taping. Andrade going on an interview and talking about Sammy Guevara, and then Sammy Guevara escalating the whole situation. But there was a backstage fight that happened on that one Dynamite. Of course, the Elite and CM Punk stuff. Literally a lot of crazy shit and a lot of ridiculous shit, to say the least. And I'm not really surprised that the lifted and the dark cloud has been lifted off of the shoulders of the AEW locker room. Now, this is the biggest test, and I talked about this on the Extra, in which I talked about the departure and the firing of CM Punk. The biggest test for AEW right now is how is the locker room going to be in a year from now, a couple of months from now, in a year from now. If we continue to get stories like this now, granted, every promotion deals with problems like this. They always have these types of problems. Nobody is safe from these types of problems because it happens in real life as well. It happens in the workplace. But the true test for AEW is if the locker room is still as bad as when CM Punk was there, then clearly that is a major issue, and it really shows that the locker room was not really, I don't want to say it would really show that Punk, it was really kind of right all along, and the locker room really does act like children. But we're going to have to wait and see. But this is coming from Meltzer, which honestly I do understand. I mean, Meltzer has, if you really think about it, Meltzer has a lot of portion of the blame when it comes to this whole situation with CM Punk, but it is what it is, and from what it looks like, the locker room is absolutely happy. Meanwhile, there was a lot of reports about a meeting that took place, or a meeting that was supposed to take place between the Elite and CM Punk. According, of course, I'm reading this off of WrestlingNews.co, but of course, this is according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Prior to AEW All In, the Young Bucks said that they were willing to work with CM Punk if there were no more issues for at least 6 months. Dave Meltzer has a write-up, and again, I'm reading this from WrestlingNews.co. Dave Meltzer has a write-up on the Wrestling Observer newsletter on CM Punk and the issues that led to his firing from the company. Among the things written in the newsletter, it was basically about the Young Bucks and their willingness to work with Punk, but not only if there was no issues for at least 6 months. One of the narratives that had been pushed online by some was that Matt and Nick Jackson did not want to sit down with CM Punk to work things out, and it turns out they were willing even after the backstage fight after All Out. What's interesting is that why is all this information coming out now after CM Punk's departure? You know, that's the funny part. Why is all this information coming out now? Couldn't we have easily gotten this information months ago? Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "One person very close to the situation said that the Bucks had said if 6 months went by without any issues, they would have been willing to sit down and work with him." Meltzer noted that with problems happening seemingly every other week from Punk's issues with Jack Perry and what happened with Ryan Nemeth and Christopher Daniels, which the Christopher Daniels story is very fucked up. I mean, Christopher Daniels is the head of talent relations. Why the fuck would you ban a guy like Christopher Daniels because he's on the side of the Elite, or, you know, Christopher Daniels, you know, is friends with the Elite? I think that's very fucking stupid. Christopher Daniels is the head of fucking talent relations. He should be at every fucking show. The fact that you would ban a guy like Christopher Daniels is the stupidest shit I've ever fucking seen. That story literally pissed me off. Of course, because of what happened with Ryan Nemeth, Christopher Daniels, the clock kept getting set back to zero. In related news, Meltzer wrote that the Young Bucks were told of a legal letter sent by the company that said that they violated an agreement made months ago to not talk negatively of the other side. Evidently, in a BTE skit. Yes, a legal letter basically informing of a complaint not to talk about the other side, and this is all over a Being the Elite skit. Clearly, this person that sent the legal letter, which is clearly from Punk's side, which I think is fucking stupid, has not watched BTE and doesn't even know what Being the Elite is. Being the Elite is a comedy show. That's what it is. It is a comedy show. That's that. The Young Bucks and people, the fact that people are complaining about this, fans on the internet as well, is fucking hilarious. Y'all are complaining over a Being the Elite skit, not knowing that the Young Bucks are known to do this type of shit. Think about this. Years before AEW, they've gotten a cease and desist letter from WWE over a hand gesture. Remember the too sweet signal? Yeah. Or the suck it gesture? Yeah, they did that shit. Remember when they got a cease and desist letter? Bro, they were trolling the fuck out of WWE. They are known for that type of stuff. The fact that people are taking this shit way too fucking seriously clearly shows that these people are stuck in the wrestling bubble. It is the funniest shit ever. It's ridiculous, these people, in the way that they think. Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "Evidently, it was from a BTE skit that was a storyline that had started years earlier about Matt Jackson screwing up an endorsement deal and was brought back where he had secured some sort of another deal that was going to make them all rich, only to have them screw up, and even with their new contract, they were left broke and couldn't retire even though they wanted to, and they were all furious that they could never leave wrestling. In the skit, they wanted Matt to apologize for screwing up. Punk's name was never mentioned." Okay, so why the fuck were they informed about a legal letter over this stupid shit? I think this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I see these tweets about very, you know, there would be clips, right, of guys like holding Pepsi cups and, well, not Pepsi cups, you know, cans of Coca-Cola, and they would immediately inform of, oh, that's a shot at CM Punk. Like, bro, chill the fuck out. Being the Elite is a comedy show. Calm the fuck down. They are known for this type of shit. Clearly, you guys do not know who the Young Bucks are. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. Now, moving on, we're going to be talking about CM Punk's future in professional wrestling. Social media is a funny thing. Social media, you know, they all love to speculate a lot of shit. People are way too fucking fast when they make mock-up, you know, graphics of CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. It is the funniest shit ever. And I love how fans, you know, that hated CM Punk all of a sudden love CM Punk. It is the most hypocritical shit that I have ever seen. Now, there's a lot of options. Impact Wrestling being one of them. I'm reading this from the Cultaholic website. According to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, Impact Wrestling are quote-unquote super excited about the prospect of working with CM Punk. There is no word on if the two sides had held talks or even if Punk wants to come back to professional wrestling. It is also unknown if Impact would be a viable long-term option for Punk. Punk has a history with Impact Wrestling, having performed for the then TNA Wrestling in 2003 and 2004 as part of Raven's The Gathering stable. Punk was backstage at Impact's Spring Slugfest tapings in Chicago earlier this year, and in addition to mingling with talent, he played a round of Uno. Punk was said to be pleasant, in a good mood, and happy to be there at the taping. Punk has been a part of All Elite Wrestling, but he was fired by Tony Khan on September 2nd, following an investigation into the All-In altercation Punk had with Jack Perry. Tony Khan noted that Punk made him fear for his life while backstage at All In, and it was recommended by the AEW Disciplinary Committee and outside legal counsel that Punk would be fired. CM Punk is not expected to end up in New Japan Pro Wrestling, with PW Insider reporting that the promotion would likely not be interested in Punk due to the relationship with AEW, which I think when it comes to New Japan, I was talking to somebody, in person about this whole situation. They were clearly stating, I think he's going to go to New Japan, but when it comes to New Japan, I mean, how would that affect AEW when it comes to their working relationship? You know what I'm saying? But the culture in Japan is completely different. I think Punk would fit perfectly over there. But again, their working relationship with New Japan would definitely, be affected if CM Punk joined New Japan. But nonetheless, Impact Wrestling is very weird. Now, if he ends up going, if he wants to go, at the end of the day, we do not know if Punk still wants to wrestle. That is the interesting thing. I know how people are creating all this speculation on the internet, and me included, but at the end of the day, we do not even know if Punk wants to wrestle. By all means, he may just not want to wrestle anymore, and the match that he had with Samoa Joe in front of 81,000 people at All In was most likely his last match. We do not know that. Either Impact Wrestling or WWE is on the table for a return with CM Punk. WWE is actually very interesting, and I'll go back to Impact Wrestling later, but Fightful actually reported a certain pitch that CM Punk basically made for him to return to WWE back in December of 2022, which, if you really think about it, was during the time where he was serving his suspension, but also serving his injury, not serving his injury, but dealing with his injury. So those close to Punk say that he was open to a WWE return. This is according to Fightful Select. CM Punk and WWE working together has seemed out of the realm for the possibility for years, but people close to him say that the idea was on the table from his end. After the Brawl-Out situation, Punk was on the sidelines following surgery to repair an injury he sustained at All Out 2022. During that time, things were still contentious with AEW and Punk, though he was in contact with AEW founder Tony Khan. Those close to Punk claim that around December of 2022, Punk was open to leaving AEW and even encouraged the idea so he could make a WWE return. Specifically, Fightful has heard that he had wanted to appear at the 2023 Royal Rumble. However, Fightful has not heard any traction to WWE having interest in such a thing, or that AEW actually entertained the idea of giving Punk his release at that point. One of the rumored ideas that Punk had, and this is just an idea, so this is not an actual plan, this was just an idea. I love how people loves to take, small aspects and literally blow them up for no reason. This was just an idea, and this is one of the rumored ideas, so maybe Punk did not have this idea. This is a rumor, just a rumor. Take this with a grain of salt. One of the rumored ideas that Punk had, and this is not confirmed with him or his camp, actually made his way back to WWE with some WWE talent. The idea would be that Punk would return at the 2023 Royal Rumble and work a match at WrestleMania against the person who would eventually eliminate him in the Royal Rumble. Word with WWE was that Kevin Owens was the name thrown around. He'd go on to main event night 1 of WrestleMania, and there was one source who indicated Owens was not a part of the pitch, but that name did make it back to several in the locker room. That was just a pitch. We do not know if that is an actual pitch, and we do not know if that is real, but a feud with Kevin Owens, honestly, I'd fucking dig. Kevin Owens is great on the microphone, and if you really think about it, it'd be very interesting considering the fact that Kevin Owens is really tight with the Young Bucks. This is the thing about WWE. Everywhere CM Punk has gone, he would always burn bridges. He went to the WWE. He left the WWE for all the right reasons. And people tend to only mention the fact that he left the WWE because he wanted the main event spot at WrestleMania. Those are just one of the reasons, but it's not one of the main reasons as to why he left. The main reason as to why CM Punk left is because of the fact that he was burnt out. He was so burnt out when he walked out of WWE in January of 2014. It got so bad to the point where he hated wrestling in general. That is a fact. He hated wrestling in general and left wrestling and stayed away from wrestling for 7 straight years. That is a fact. And also, he had a staph infection that he was not informed of by the doctors in WWE to whom he went to court with. And I believe he actually won that court case, to say the least. So there were many personal reasons as to why CM Punk left the WWE. People only mentioned that he wanted the main event spot of WrestleMania. Those are just one of the reasons, and if anything, it is a minor reason. That is it. The main reason is because of the fact that he was burnt out. Now, him, going on that Colt Cabana podcast and just immediately just spewing all the stuff that he was spewing about Triple H, all that stuff, clearly he has burned bridges with people at the WWE. And clearly he'd have heat with a lot of people. Now, the saying goes, never say never. Really, if you think about it, never say never. There's been a history of guys that have burnt bridges with WWE that easily came back with open arms. One example, and this is one recent, I could easily say guys like Bret Hart, right? But I could one guy that comes to mind, it's very minor, but, one guy that comes to mind is Scott Steiner. I mean, bro, how many times has Scott Steiner talked shit on Triple H? He talked shit on Triple H for years. Not only Triple H, but also Stephanie McMahon. And the Steiner brothers ended up being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Bro, there is a fucking photo with the Steiner brothers and Triple H and the entire McMahon family. That is fucking crazy. If that could work, a CM Punk return could possibly work. But also, the talent. Seth Rollins went on record and called CM Punk on numerous occasions a cancer. What does Kevin Owens think about, CM Punk? Roman Reigns flat out said, I do not like CM Punk, but I'm willing to do business with him. He said that in an interview. Or another one, AJ Styles. AJ Styles has went on record for years and basically stated that he does not like CM Punk. But this is the thing. The WWE locker room, it's a completely different environment than the environment in AEW. That is the key that I want everybody to really take away from listening to this podcast. The environment in the locker room of WWE is completely different than the environment of the locker room of AEW. Because WWE is a publicly traded company. And a lot of the shit that CM Punk has done in AEW does not fly in the WWE, and I feel like CM Punk knows that. But another thing that I want to add on to this whole speculation on a possible WWE return for CM Punk is that even if WWE was willing to bring back CM Punk, don't you think that reading all of these reports about CM Punk and the fights that he has had with guys like the Elite, the arguments and all the bullshit with Hangman Page, and to whom Hangman Page throughout the entirety of the situation was the most professional out of everybody because he stayed quiet the entire time. And this whole situation started with Hangman Page and CM Punk. He had problems with Hangman Page, the Elite, John Moxley of all fucking people, Chris Jericho, literally Jack Perry, you fucking name it. He had problems with a lot of fucking people. Don't you think WWE is looking at those reports and thinking to themselves, is CM Punk really worth it? Is he really worth the amount of money that we could possibly give him to come back to the WWE? That is another interesting question, to say the least. I mean, WWE right now is at the hottest that they have ever been in a long-ass time. They are selling out left and right. At the end of the day, if CM Punk came back, he'd be the cherry on top of the cake. He would definitely be the cherry on top of the cake, but I do believe that it is a short-term thing. I don't think it's going to be like a full-time thing, like it was in AEW. That's my opinion. But does WWE really need CM Punk? Bro, they're selling out all over the place. I don't think they really need CM Punk, to say the least. But never say never in this industry. Now, Impact is very interesting. Impact is actually an interesting option for CM Punk. I believe Impact even put out a statement saying that they were going to up the production value for their production. Which, if that is the case, I think it's good on them. And Anthem, I would assume, is a multi-million-dollar company. They are willing to basically spend the money. I mean, they're going to have to pay CM Punk a shit ton of money if Impact is the option for him. But also, with Impact, they're gaining a lot of steam recently, and a lot of people are talking about Impact Wrestling. I mean, could it be a great option for him? I don't know. But it's interesting. And another thing is that Bound for Glory is in Chicago next month. Could that be a sense of him possibly going to Impact Wrestling? No, I don't think so. But they're going to have to pay him a shit ton of money if he could possibly go to Impact Wrestling. But I will say this. If they ever did sign CM Punk, I think it'd be a huge get for Impact Wrestling, and it would take Impact Wrestling not to the lengths of like an AEW, but it would take Impact Wrestling to the next level to where they need to be. Because Impact at a time was the number 2 promotion. But of course, due to the piss poor management of the previous regime, that being Dixie Carter and everybody else, and Panda Energy, they fell off a cliff because of their own stupidity. So, I mean, the people at Anthem are not stupid either. I mean, they probably would see the value in CM Punk, but they would also probably look at these stories and would be like, how would this benefit the locker room? Now, that being said, we do not know the locker room atmosphere in Impact Wrestling. Probably it's more professional than AEW as well. If there's anything that I can speculate is I genuinely believe the locker room environment in both Impact and WWE are way more professional than the locker room environment in AEW, because clearly it has been reported that the locker room environment in AEW has been dog shit in the last couple of months. But it's interesting. Impact Wrestling, WWE, I think it'd be a great get for both of them. Yes, if CM Punk does come back to the WWE, he'd look very much like a hypocrite. I mean, this is a guy that's still, he would continue to talk shit about the WWE. And I'm not talking about minor shots like Cody Rhodes in his last AEW promo. I'm talking about legit beef. Like, remember when Mercedes and Trinity walked out of the WWE last year? He flat out said, I believe it was in San Diego Comic-Con, correct me if I'm wrong, he talked about how the locker room or the backstage environment and the culture in the WWE has not changed. So clearly he kind of in a way still holds a grudge. But again, does WWE really give a shit? Who knows? It's very interesting. And a lot of the speculation, I think it's getting a little bit tiresome. I don't think he will eventually return to WWE. But again, never say never in this industry. Never say never. He could easily go to WWE. Now, it all depends on the Endeavor deal, because the Endeavor deal is about to close, and officially UFC and WWE are going to be merging together. So, I mean, is Endeavor willing to pay the money for CM Punk? Because he's going to ask for a big-ass price. He's going to ask for a big-ass price, but it's interesting. Interesting developments. Of course, CM Punk is gone from AEW. Where will he end up? I predict either Impact or, WWE, but most likely probably WWE. A part of me doesn't believe it, but another part of me definitely believes it. But at the end of the day, maybe Punk just doesn't want to wrestle anymore. I mean, this is not a guy that's broke. Like, people speculate just because he's fired from AEW, he's gonna beg for money. Like, bro, Punk is set for life. Like, Punk is literally a fucking millionaire. He does not need wrestling. People need to understand that Punk does not need wrestling. So he may stop wrestling entirely, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens further on down the line. These are very interesting developments that are going on, and those are my thoughts on that. Moving on, we got extra news on LA Knight. Yes, LA Knights. Actually, no, we're not going to be talking about LA Knight yet. We're going to be talking about Thunder Rosa. She's actually in the news. Thunder Rosa could be headed back into the ring soon. This is according to Fightful Select. Fightful Select has been told that Thunder Rosa could return to the ring at almost, quote-unquote, any time provided creative is produced for her. Rosa had spoken at this past weekend's Starcast, and sources within AEW indicated that she is ready to return. Whether or not she does not imminently remains to be seen, but Thunder Rosa has been sidelined for 13 months, last competing in early August of 2022. She would forfeit the AEW Women's World Championship ahead of AEW All Out 2022, and of late she's been on the Spanish language commentary, and she appeared in a backstage segment teasing a return to Collision before the show was even announced. But that hasn't appeared in an on-screen role since then. Thunder Rosa, I mean, she's great at what she does. I mean, she's dealt with a lot of shit with dealing with her injury, a lot of fucking reports about, her possibly faking her injury, which is so fucking stupid. Britt Baker on AEW fucking All Access was like so pissed off about the fact that, she was injured and she didn't show up to work. But meanwhile, she had a broken nose and, she still showed up to work. All this stupid, dumb shit. A lot of drama. And it's really a lot of the drama is not really Thunder Rosa's fault. If anything, I kind of felt bad for Thunder Rosa, not only with her dealing with her injury, but dealing with all the stupid ass high school drama that has been going on backstage and all the stories that were being leaked. Not being leaked, but all the fake stories that were being talked about, about her in the dirt sheets. You really have to feel bad for Thunder Rosa if you really think about it. But Thunder Rosa could be headed back to the ring soon. Of course, she was one of the people that were marketed in the build-up towards the debut of Collision as one of the returning stars, and unfortunately, she hasn't made her return yet. So hopefully she will be making her return soon. Of course, we had guys like Scorpio Sky make his return as well, and that shit ended fucking badly because he dealt with an injury, but at the end of the day, who gives a shit? With all due respect, hopefully he recovers from his injury, but did really Scorpio Sky play in a big role? No, he didn't. But Thunder Rosa is definitely headed back to the ring soon. All right. In our next story, we got more on LA Knight's contract situation. This is according, of course, to Fightful Select. WWE wants to keep LA Knight around for the long haul. Fightful Select has learned that around the time of WWE SummerSlam that WWE made a recent overtures towards LA Knight to re-sign with the company in an attempt to extend his WWE contract for several years. However, at that time, we had been told that LA Knight's deal is nowhere near to be done, and it would be well ahead of a possible expiration, which would be at least up to late 2024 or early 2025. In most cases lately, WWE has waited until deals are much closer to offer a new contract. PW Insider reported today that they were finalizing the deal and were told that some of the initial offers were countered. We have not confirmed with this signing at all. There were also reports that the company was waiting for the deal to go through before going forward with his push, but there was over a year left on his current deal. Look, I do expect LA Knight to stay with the WWE. I mean, his deal is not even up yet. There's still a lot of fucking time left in his contract, and honestly, WWE would be very foolish if they let LA Knight go. And even LA Knight, LA Knight would be really dumb if he left the WWE, because look at the reaction that he has been getting on all over SmackDown and all over WWE TV these past couple of months. LA Knight is literally he's not a top guy, but LA Knight is one of the most over acts right now in World Wrestling Entertainment. And he literally deserves every fucking dollar that he gets. So I do expect LA Knight to re-sign with the company, and I don't expect him to leave at all. I think speculation on him leaving should literally be just cut, okay? Stop speculating, dumb speculation. We got some news on some top merch sellers in WWE and AEW. Once again, this is according to Fightful Select. WWE Payback was a big success for the company, and Fightful has learned some details behind the merch rankings for the show. As is almost always the case, generic WWE merchandise topped the list. Among that includes Payback and WWE branded t-shirts. I will say a lot of those shirts I believe are the Payback poster. The Payback poster is so fucking badass. That includes, of course, Payback and WWE branded shirts, briefcases, and title belts. The way one person explained it to us, that being Fightful, is that it's unlikely many things will overcome that, as one title belt can equate to 1 or 2 dozen superstar shirts. As far as individual talent, Fightful has been told that Cody Rhodes topped the list, beating out John Cena, who landed at the second among individual talent. Cody Rhodes is a fucking draw. You'll love to see it. This is a rarity, as John Cena's merchandise continues to do great numbers, especially when new merchandise is dropped. LA Knight fans will be happy to know that at the live event, he hit the number 3 amongst individual superstars. LA Knight also is a fucking merch seller. You love to see it. You could tell the popularity of LA Knight is growing and growing and growing. Many of LA Knight's sales have previously been online and via Fanatics, but WWE has made a point to get a lot more of his merch at the live shows. At the AEW All-In show, we're told that the Better Than You Bay Bay shirt was the top seller, which, honestly, I am not surprised, considering the fact that Adam Cole and MJF is literally the hottest thing right now in all of AEW, and it continues to grow strong. You love to see it. Prince Nana is in the news as well. Fightful Select sources have confirmed that the Mogul Embassy affiliate's manager, Prince Nana, is remaining with AEW as he recently signed a multi-year contract with the company. Nana's work has received high marks within AEW and significant praise by several on the roster and in management. The deal was done in the last month or so. Prince Nana has been featured throughout the entirety of Ring of Honor's existence through multiple runs, and in 2022 he revealed that he had purchased Tully Blanchard Enterprises within Storyline. He since managed Brian Cage, Toa Leona, Khan, Swerve Strickland, and briefly AR Fox. Nana had a WWE tryout back in 2013 and also competed in the ring, though he hasn't since 2019 and scaled back significantly after 2013. The reason why I talk about this is because of the fact that, I wasn't really the biggest fan of the Embassy, but these past couple of weeks and months, Prince Nana, bro, that fucking dance, every time during Prince Nana's or Swerve Strickland's entrance is fucking awesome, and he's getting that shit over with the audience. You just love to see it. And not only that, I'm really getting more and more and more interested in the work that the Mogul Embassy has been doing, because I remember when the Embassy was first a thing, I was like, oh, who gives a shit? Now with Swerve Strickland at the helm, especially these past couple of months, and now with Swerve Strickland entering in a feud with Hangman Page and Prince Nana is being involved, I think he fits perfectly with the Embassy, and his work is just fucking phenomenal, and he deserves every fucking penny that he gets because Prince Nana is so entertaining at what he does. Moving on, in our final story, we're going to be talking about the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. Yes, I rarely talk about Impact Wrestling. I did talk about Impact Wrestling with the speculation on CM Punk, but we're going to be talking briefly about Bound for Glory and the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm actually curious about what's going to be happening at Bound for Glory. I'm actually planning on watching the show. I don't plan on covering the show because, number one, I do not follow Impact Wrestling. I do know Impact Wrestling has been gaining a little bit of popularity recently amongst a lot of hardcore wrestling fans, but I'm not one of those guys yet that are going to be fully ingrained with Impact Wrestling, but I will catch Bound for Glory. It's going to be taking place October 21st in Chicago, which is very interesting, but two men will be inducted in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I briefly wanted to mention this. Mike Tenay and Don West will be inducted in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. And this is a statement from Impact Wrestling's website. On October 21st at Bound for Glory, the legendary commentary team of Mike Tenay and the late, great Don West will be inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame, joining the elite company of Sting, Kurt Angle, Team 3D, Jeff Jarrett, Earl Hebner, Gail Kim, Abyss, Ken Shamrock, Awesome Kong, and Raven. Tenay and West's contributions as the voices of Impact Wrestling will forever be etched in history on this special night. Overall, I think this is great. I've went on record before, and I talked about this about when Don West passed away. Don West passed away, I believe it was December of last year. A couple of months ago, I completely forgot, but it was recent. It was recent when he passed away, and honestly, it was a big blow because if you really think about it, for me as a wrestling fan, and a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of people point out as Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler as their favorite commentary team. I'm a big fan of Jim Ross, and I consider Jim Ross to be the greatest commentator and play-by-play guy of all time. I think there's no debating that. But I do believe Mike Tenay and Don West should be involved in that conversation because think about this. The chemistry that Mike Tenay and Don West brought to the table during the heyday and the popularity of TNA in its glory years. So I'm talking about 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. Those were the years that they were really at their peak, where TNA was at its peak. Mike Tenay and Don West brought a level of emotion to the show. Like, the dynamic between both of them, even though they were very different, they still had great chemistry and they gelled well so much. Mike Tenay was more of the knowledgeable guy, and you saw that during the WCW days. And he knew a lot about the luchadors and just a lot of styles, and he literally understood the psychology and telling the story of what was happening in the ring. Don West was, of course, the color commentator, and the level of emotion that Don West would bring, even though it'd be a little bit over the top, still, a lot of Don West's commentary would be great. I can remember the Triple X versus, Triple X versus America's Most Wanted at Turning Point 2004. A lot of people consider that to be the greatest TNA match of all time. Some other people consider it to be the Unbreakable three-way match between AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels as the greatest TNA match of all time. I personally considered the Triple X versus AMW cage match. That's my favorite TNA match of all time. I stress you not, I watched that match. That match is so good. Just the stipulation about the losing team will never be teaming again. The level of emotion that both Mike Tenay and Don West brought to the table during that match was insane. The Elix Skipper spot where he fucking walked on top of the steel cage, only for him to do the Hurricane Rana off the top of the cage, was insane. You had Don West literally scream, "You've got to be kidding me." Or another moment, Kurt Angle's TNA debut, and I believe that was the go-home Impact before the 2006 Bound for Glory. When Kurt Angle made his debut, of course, this was during a segment where Mike Tenay was with Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe he wasn't the actual NWA champion, he took the actual physical belt, and Mike Tenay asked him, "Are you going to turn the belt in or not?" And then Samoa Joe ripped up the paper, and he's like, "There's your answer." Kurt Angle comes out. Don West was the only guy on commentary since Mike Tenay was in the ring. And, bro, once Mike Tenay went into the commentary desk and the shit went down with Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, bro, the level of emotion that those guys brought to the commentary on that Impact show was insane. That time where, like, literally after the headbutt and the Olympic slam by Kurt Angle on Joe, he would hold up the NWA title, and then Joe would be behind, and then Don West, he's like, "And Joe's busted Hopper's eye, and he's bleeding down his eye, and look at the kick right to the head of Kurt Angle, and he's so mad right now." That's my little Don West impression, but he would go like that ballistic, and it'd be so fucking awesome watching back those old classic TNA moments. Don West and Mike Tenay will be forever etched as one of the greatest commentary teams of all time, in my personal opinion, because again, everybody talks about Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler or Michael Cole and Taz. One of these days, I wish we could get a possible reunion between Michael Cole and Taz, because Michael Cole now is so good at what he does. But like Mike Tenay and Don West should be a part of that conversation, because again, they brought a level of intensity and a level of emotion and great story, to their commentary team that really a lot of other commentary teams just do not bring either today or didn't bring beforehand. And that is something that we all really need to appreciate. So congratulations to Mike Tenay and Don West. They will officially be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame, or the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. I still called Impact Wrestling TNA. They will be officially inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame October 21st in Chicago at Bound for Glory. So that is great to see. Congratulations to Mike Tenay and, of course, the late, great Don West. But yeah, that was episode 27 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. We definitely talked about a lot right here on the show. Of course, we definitely talked about CM Punk and all of the drama. I don't want to necessarily say the drama, because there's really no drama regarding CM Punk, but of course, we talked about his potential whereabouts and where he could possibly go or end up, whether that's New Japan, WWE, Impact Wrestling, you fucking name it. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with CM Punk, and it's going to be very interesting developments as we head towards the next couple of months. And, of course, as we head towards Royal Rumble season, where the speculations are going to be fucking insane. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. And, yeah, that was episode 27 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications. Look out for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the Squared Circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And, as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys later. Peace.